It's been a while since we've gotten any Ahsoka news, but hot off the presses, after much humming and hawing about what was going to happen with Baylan Skoll, as Ray Stevenson, who played him, tragically passed away a few months before season 1 came out, we finally have an answer. And the answer is kind of amazing. Welcome back, everyone. Hello, it's me, Amanda. Today, we are here to talk about some Ahsoka news. This is not fully confirmed by Disney yet, but Baylan Skoll was a character that was well loved from season 1 of Ahsoka. I think for most of us that were watching the show, he was a highlight. I know for me, he was a highlight, played by Ray Stevenson, someone who I've been a fan of for quite a while, and I just thought he did such an amazing job with the character, and Skoll is such an interesting character. And finally, we have some news on what's happening with that. So some of us were thinking that Baylan Skoll might be removed from the show. Was he going to be recast? And then if he was going to be recast, who would potentially play this character? Because like I said, Ray Stevenson just did such a good job. It'd be an intimidating role to take on. So who's doing it? Well, it's none other than Rory McCann, according to the Hollywood Reporter, who just reported on it after Jeff Sneider he has his own newsletter that he does called The Insnider, reported on it, and then Hollywood Reporter said that they confirmed it. Now, we have yet to hear this from Disney themselves, but I feel like Hollywood Reporter, pretty reputable, so this sounds like it could be happening. Other than that, I also feel like it just feels right to me. Rory McCann is one of the names that was put up initially, and I did feel that he would be like a really great fit. That being said though, like I said, Ray Stevenson was such a phenomenal actor. I was a big fan of Ray Stevenson ever since the days of Rome, which, if you don't know about Rome, it's a really amazing HBO series from 2005 to 2007. It only has 2 seasons. You should go watch it. It's very, very good. Ray Stevenson is in it, and he crushes it as my man Titus Pulo. I really loved the show, and personally would love an excuse to talk about it. So if you would like to hear me gush more about Ray Stevenson and talk about Rome, let me know in the comments. I just need a few of you to tell me that you'll view it. I just need to know that there will be some views. But I'm looking for an excuse to talk about Rome is what I'm saying, because that's how much I love that show. It's one of my favorite shows of all time. And part of the reason why is because the acting is so freaking amazing in that show. And part of the reason why it's so amazing is because of people like Ray Stevenson. So yeah, that is where I knew him from initially, but he also played our boy Frank Castle, The Punisher Warzone, which happened in 2008. So he is just this performer that I feel is really good at taking these characters and providing some depth to them. Characters that are kind of a little bit more rough on the surface, but they really have a heart of gold. Honestly, it's so sad that he died so young. He was only 58, and I just feel like the world never really got to see how amazing he was of a performer. He should have been doing like just so many more things, I think. Even though, I mean, he did have a lot of really great roles, and when he was in stuff, many times he was nominated for his performances because he was that good. But it sucks that, you know, he also passed before Ahsoka season 1 even came out. So all of us were loving his performance, and then just finding out that, yeah, he's not here anymore. So we won't get to see him in season 2, which is a bummer. And he didn't even get to see how much we love the character, but at least he got to see the trailer. At least he got to see the hype that people were feeling after the trailer, which is great. But yeah, big shoes to fill. There's so much depth to just even Stevenson's portrayal of Skoll, who I think is a really fascinating character, because although he is this tough, intimidating, brutal guy, there is a softness to him around the edges. There is a sadness in that character where you can tell that he feels compelled to do what he must, but it's not something that he revels in. It's not necessarily something that he enjoys. And in fact, there even seems to be some respect to the people that he opposes, even when he's fighting against Ahsoka, it does feel like he feels like it's a shame to have to fight Ahsoka. So that is a really amazing part of that character that I immensely, deeply enjoyed, and that I feel like is the challenging part with Baylan Skoll, because there's a humanity to him that it's on another level in terms of the acting skill required to just sort of really finely ride that line, to find the humanity in someone that is so intimidating. And I think that's something that I really have always loved about Ray Stevenson and the performances I've seen him in, is that I feel like he's really good at finding just this sense of humanity in all these characters, no matter how hard their exterior might seem. Now, on Rory McCann's side of that, also interesting fact, Ray Stevenson, I believe, was initially he's a Northern Ireland UK actor, and so Rory McCann is a Scottish actor, also, you know, typically working as well in the UK. He's played a ton of fantastic characters, and I think is a great pick for the reason of just even some of his own resume and what he's played before. He will also, I think, get an opportunity with this role to show us even more of what he's capable of, which I can't wait to see. Because the one thing that I will say is that I do feel that Rory McCann hasn't really been given roles that are as complex as this one. And so I'm very, very interested to see what he does with Skoll. I think he's up for the challenge. But, you know, I did see him in Knuckles, which I loved seeing him in Knuckles. He plays our villain in that show. If you don't know, I did a whole review actually on Knuckles. I really loved it. He plays kind of more of a one-note villain though, and that was my only complaint with the show, is that I did feel that some of the characters lacked a little bit of depth. So that was a character that is very much just he's a bad guy, he's a bad guy. However, you know, that's not all that Rory McCann can do. He's not just a big scary guy. He was also, well, I mean, I guess he was kind of still a scary guy in Hot Fuzz. Remember when Maisie Williams shared the story of when she met him and she was like, why does this guy look familiar? And then she looked him up and was like, oh yeah, he's in Hot Fuzz.
Yarp.
Yarp, he is in Hot Fuzz. So cute. But speaking of Maisie Williams and her revelation of discovering he was in Hot Fuzz, obviously the role that I think he's the most well known for is from Game of Thrones, where he played the Hound, Sandor Clegane, which I love his portrayal of the Hound, and I think that character does show some of the capability of what he's going to need to hone here. But at the same time, I do feel like even the Hound really has a tough exterior that is pretty impenetrable. I mean, even when he's being a kind of a good guy, doing some good stuff, even when he's trying to do, you know, the right thing and he's not a complete monster, he still is just tough as tough can be. Tough as nails. And so I think having the depth to Skoll will be an interesting challenge for McCann, but I do think he is up to the challenge. I think it's just going to let him shine, honestly, because like I said, with Skoll, while he is intimidating, he is he has this nature to him that Ray Stevenson always just kind of had. I mean, Ray Stevenson just seemed like he was such a sweet human, and I think that really shines through in all of the characters that he played. There was not just a intimidating physical presence to Baylan Skoll, but there is almost a cerebral nature. He's thinking things through. There's almost a spiritual nature to him as well, which I kind of always got from Ray Stevenson when I saw him in interviews and stuff. And there's this emotional intensity that I can't wait to see what Rory McCann does with it. I'm very curious to see what level of softness I'll feel with his adaptation of Baylan. Not to say that Baylan isn't a scary guy, because he's a scary guy, but I'm just saying there was just so much going on with that character, and so much that we haven't answered questions of about what's going on and why he's doing what he's doing, and what even is his end game. I just feel like him and Shin, I can't wait to see what paths they go on in season 2. And I'm so glad that the character was recast, because even though it was sad to lose Ray Stevenson, I do think it was the right call, because I want to see the rest of Baylan Skoll's story. And when you play a character and you elevate them to that level, I think it would be a disservice to just end the story prematurely, and maybe not as neatly, because I do think we're going to need him for season 2 based on what we set up in season 1. I think it would be pretty impossible to not have him in it, honestly, and it would be disappointing. So while these are some big shoes for Rory McCann to fill, I am excited to see what he brings to it, and he is kind of one of the names that was coming up. And I think the other thing is, I just feel like Rory McCann is such a great pick. I'm very excited because even when the names were coming up, he was the one that I think I was the most I could see him being Baylan Skoll. I remember there were lots of names that came up. I mean, Liev Schreiber was one. There were a few other names that the people were just throwing around. But I remember when I heard Rory McCann as like a, maybe that would, I thought to myself, yeah, that would actually probably be pretty cool. In the Sneider report, apparently it was, I haven't read it, but other news outlets have been reporting that apparently Rory McCann received the blessing of Ray Stevenson's widow. But the thing that I think is a little weird about that, and that they were friends, which I would believe they were friends. They're like around the same age, both extremely talented actors, you know, kind of both UK based. So I could see that being a thing. But apparently they were saying that in the report that the widow of Ray Stevenson gave her blessing to Rory to play the role, which feels a little strange to me, just because I'm pretty sure Ray Stevenson, he wasn't married, but he was with his partner, like they had kids together and everything. So even though they weren't like married, they were probably common law and all that stuff. I don't know a ton about his personal life, but I know that like they weren't like married in the traditional sense. So that was an interesting tidbit that if it's true, I think is really cool. But also the way that it's reported on, I'm not sure if it is true because it's just weird wording. However, I haven't read the report, so it could also just be that people that are reporting on that report are choosing that term just to make it clearer, because when you say partner, it's like some people don't know what that means, like partner in what. So I understand why it might have been worded that way. Either way, it could be cool if it's a true thing, but it's still kind of not official yet because we're still waiting for Disney to even say that this casting is confirmed. So we'll have to wait and see, but I hope it's true because I kind of love it. And I just wanted to share my thoughts on it with you and kind of where I'm at with it and how I'm feeling about it. Because if you watched my Ahsoka reviews, which are up, if you guys want to check them out on the channel, I think I did a whole season review for it as well. I think I did. So you could even just watch that. I talked about how Baylan Skoll was such a highlight for me, and so yeah, I've been kind of waiting to see what was going to happen, and I'm glad, if this is true, that this is what we're doing. That's it for me. Let me know your thoughts on this casting down in the comments below, and let me know what you're excited about for Ahsoka season 2, or what you're dreading, if there's anything that you're dreading. I mean, I feel like a lot of people liked it, but I'm sure there are people that didn't like Ahsoka. So let me know your thoughts on that down in the comments. I'll see you next time, friends, and make sure you check out other things that I've talked about on the channel, like Ahsoka, or like, you know, if you want me to talk about Rome, I'm always down. I'm always down to talk about Rome. I'll see you next time, and until then, friends, stay nerdy. Bye!